What's going on, Sky Squad? We are back in the building, and we are going to be talking about Married to Medicine. Married to Medicine, gang. Y'all go ahead and get up in here. Let me turn these comments on so I can see them. What episode is this? This is episode 13 of season 12. It's called Couples Therapy and Paradise Problems. So on YouTube TV, interestingly enough, they only put 6 Atlanta women, all doctors or wives of doctors, struggle to balance their careers, families, and social lives. I'm not sure why they are lately not putting in those descriptions on YouTube TV. So you might have to go and check Peacock to actually get that description. But I actually want to take your attention over to something else that I happened to catch on our friends over at No Chaser TV. And I want to read you through the comments. What's going on, y'all, in the chat? I see it. I see it. I see it. I see y'all chats. Let me see if I can add them to the screen. I don't know why I can't add these to the screen. It's saying show in background. I don't want to show in the background. I want to show in the scene. All right. We'll figure that out later. All right. We'll figure that out later. Hold on. Let's see here. All right. Again, my apologies, y'all. I'm learning the new software, so give me a little bit of time before I master this thing here, and we're gonna get down into the nitty gritty. So last night, Cecil went on the Twitter. I'm assuming it was last night, and Cecil got to talking because Cecil's like, "Yo, listen, what y'all not about to do is y'all not about to come up in here and insult this show on a regular basis, and y'all don't know what y'all want." So what is he saying? Let's get into it. Hey y'all, I see y'all in the chat. So Cecil says this. Well, he's responding to comments. Somebody says, unpopular opinion. Married to Medicine is not good this season. Okay. So is it good or is it not good? Y'all let me know in the chat. Are y'all watching this season or not? I have mixed opinions about it. In some respects, I feel like it's actually a really good season. And in some respects, I feel like it's interesting coming after the season that we had. I think it's interesting coming after the season that we had with the Phaedra on there, with the whole Sweet Tea and Dr. G situation kind of being in the mix. You had Apollo thrown in there. It was almost like they threw everything in the kitchen sink at last season. And in this season, they're kind of getting back to basics. So I'm not really mad at that too much when you really get down to it. But we're going to discuss some things about last season as we get further into Cecil's tweets. And I see some of y'all saying I like it. I'm cool with it. I'm enjoying most of it. So Cecil says, real talk. What would a good season look like? A fight and a fair. One side says it needs to be more positive, and the other side says there isn't enough drama. Just curious. All right, so let me tell y'all something, okay? And I'm just gonna keep it 100% for real. If you are trying to please fans in terms of what your season looks like, you're never gonna be like in this day and age. You're never going to be able to please everybody. You're just not. You're not going to be able to please everybody. So, I mean, sometimes these comments, while Cecil is right, honestly, y'all, for real, like, you're never going to please the masses. So, you might as well go for trying to just please the people that you can please. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's the thing on my channel, and I know I want y'all to follow this notion. On my channel, I'm not talking to everybody. Okay? I'm not talking to everybody. There is a specific type of person that watches my channel. You might be all very different, but there are some common themes that you have in common. And those are the people that I want to attract. Now, in terms of what the show does in terms of views, yes, you want the most amount of viewers that you can possibly get. I mean, in a sense, you really kind of do want that, but at the end of the day, you can only make the show that you're supposed to be making, and everybody's not gonna like what you do every season, and that's just that. You can try as hard as you like, but you will not be able to please all of the people all of the time. Period. Period. Okay. So, Cecil, just take from that what you will. Someone else, then he says, for the record, we asked King about marriage all season because we never thought Quad would be moving forward without a ring. The only thing I told Curtis is when you make people feel that their situation is based on their actions is tricky. So this is a good point to sort of start weaving in some aspects of this episode. Okay, so for me, this episode said something very interesting about Curtis. I don't know much about Curtis Berry. I really don't. So I only know what we've seen over the years. Um and it's also interesting that we really don't see much of Curtis outside of these group events and honestly the trips. So it's really hard for me to connect with who Curtis is at this stage of his life. Okay? Let me just say that. And I say that to I'm gonna just keep it for real with y'all. Listen, that man was caught with a whole nother woman someplace else other than where his wife was. Now, given her reaction to that situation, we can wager to believe that they did not have any type of agreement in place for which that was okay. Okay? This didn't seem like a one-off situation. This definitely seemed like some type of longer term thing that he was going through with whomever the young lady was in question. Okay. So it's always going to be a little odd to hear somebody like a Curtis coming off of that situation, though it was several years ago, comment such like a hard take such a hard biblical stance on something that it's like, my brother, you ain't got nothing to do with this. And to add insult to injury, your wife is Quad's doctor. So essentially, what has happened in the episode is, for those of you guys who may have missed it, the men are having a this is like the men have a couple of group scenes, group sessions. And this is coming at the end of the trip in the last group session that the men have together, and they're having it with like a therapist or something of that sort. And they're just kind of going around talking, and we'll get back to Eugene versus Dr. Damon in 1 second. But right now, all the men are in a good place, and I'm kind of going out of order because I wanted to relate this to Cecil's tweet. So coming off of, they're just the men are discussing what's going on with King and Quad. And in this episode, you see the buildup of tension between the two of them. You can hear it in their separate conversations with both the men and the women. But for the most part, you just know that there is some discontent there. There is some discomfort and unhappiness there on both people's parts. We're gonna leave it there for now because we know where they ended up. We know where Quad and King ended up, and they're not together. So one of the things is that Curtis is wanting to offer some advice about, Quad and King and this desire to have a baby. And he's like, you guys are chasing this baby, and you're not married. And so biblically speaking, you're out of order. Now, I do think that there is some rationale behind Quad and King creating a more stable foundation if they do indeed want a child together. I don't think that there's anything wrong in saying that, because that's pretty much what some of the other people were saying. And again, be I- that's facts, right? Unless Quad just wants a baby, all right, which could be the case. She could just want the baby with that man. All right. We already know that he, in some way, shape, or form, proposed, but she wasn't really ready for the way he proposed. Because let's face it, sometimes when people say, well, let's just go down to the courthouse right now, it would be like, to me, I don't blame Qua for being like, well, no. I don't want to do it that way. If I get married, I want it to be a situation where we are with family and friends, even if it's a small amount of family and friends. This is kind of what I had in mind. What can we agree on mutually that would make sense for both of us? Now, I don't know how that conversation went because we didn't see it and we're told secondhand via Quad in a moment of tearful, unabashed openness that she is having with the ladies. And to a certain degree, I kind of feel like I want to say this. And again, we're going out of order. Quad in that moment when the ladies, all the girls were together and they were getting their mud rubs on with the legs and stuff like that. I felt like it made me feel like Quad was auditioning for the ladies for their acceptance. And I know she may not have been, but I just didn't really like how she was like, and I'm just being my most open and vulnerable. And I'm like, girl, you don't have to do that. You don't have to give them like you give them enough, right? But it just something about the way she said it to me made me feel like she needed to prove how open she was being because in the past they have claimed that she was not so open. So I get maybe there's a overemphasis on you sharing your life, but I don't think you need to go overboard in the expression of, hey guys, look at me. I'm doing this now. I'm doing what you guys asked. That's how it made me feel watching that scene. And I want to say, quiet, you don't have to do that. Just be open. I mean, you don't have to proclaim your openness. And I know some people could say, well, you would complain if she wasn't being open. But no, I just feel like it's a natural openness, and we know natural when we see it on these types of shows. I don't need Quad to tell us or the ladies I am being open when you are telling us about things that are actually going on in your private life. I just wish she wouldn't. A part of me wishes that she wouldn't have said it. I know I'm being picky. I'm just telling you how I felt watching the scene, and I'm just being for real. Okay, back to King and uh, Curtis Berry, aka Dr. Jackie's husband. Now, I know that this incident with Dr. Jackie and Curtis happened several years ago, and if she forgave him, then who cares, to be quite honest with you. But it's gonna always seem crazy when somebody in his position throws in biblical terms and thoughts and uses that as a reference for why somebody is not getting what they want, whether it be a baby or whatever like that. Like, I don't really want to hear your. I mean, no, okay, no. I don't think you should even go there. And you know what's annoying about that is that sometimes, and I listen, I'm somebody who grew up in the church. I understand it. I've been to all different types of churches, so don't throw your Bible at me after I say this. But y'all know it be a lot of times it'll be church folks throwing that Bible around, and they be the main ones doing all the crazy stuff, but they will pull out a Bible verse for you and for your mess, but they have clearly forgotten about reading the scripture that addresses their own. It's always baffling to me when I see people do that, and it's irritating AF. Okay? It's extremely irritating. So I think that's why so many people are reacting to Curtis in the way that they are. Likely because, number one, we all know somebody or we know somebody that has done that very thing. They will throw a Bible verse out in a second, but sure as they throw a verse out, if I wanted to, okay? If I really wanted to, if I took a good look at your life, I could probably find a Bible verse that really, 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 really speaks to you and your mess too. So I think people should think twice before they start casting stones in that direction, especially somebody with the last name Curtis Berry. Okay? We're gonna give him the whole, that's gonna be his whole last name. Because the first part of it is Dr. Jackie's husband. Okay? Because this also reflects on her. Because at the end of the day, what you're saying is, well, perhaps because biblically you guys ain't doing this right, that ain't what you guys ain't got no baby. That's kind of how it feels. But there's also, as King did state, and what's correct with that, is there's also the matter of biology at play here as well. And I think that also needs to be remembered. This is something that Quad has acknowledged herself. This is something that they are trying to work through. There's nothing wrong with the way that they're trying to work through, but it just is not happening. Now, speaking of the biological aspects, Dr. Jackie, who is an OBGYN, and whatever else she is, business owner, all of those things, is also the person who is helping, the person that you're talking about try to conceive a child. So while you're saying that it might be the Bible, okay, and it might be because they're not doing things biblically and spiritually in order for you, okay, you got to also remember that your wife is also in the picture trying to help her do that very same thing that you are saying that they cannot do because perhaps biblically they are not doing things in decent order. Okay? So now you have subtly, partially shot astray at your wife. Man, just shut up. Okay? I'm just, there's no better way to say it. A lot of times I try to sugarcoat things on this channel, but this might be one of those things where you might just have to say, you know what? I ain't got nothing to say. I sure hope for the best for you, man. I really, really do. Now, had he just simply said, have you guys thought about building yourself a stronger foundation and maybe going to seek some type of marital counseling from, somebody who is working in the church? Had you said that, now that I would have been like, okay, yeah, okay, cool. I can understand how you would say something like that. That's very cool. That's very generous for you to say. And there's some sage advice that they could potentially take. You've given them at that point some type of action that they can move towards, and your advice is therefore productive. But what you're saying right now is not productive, sir. It's not productive, it's not helpful, and in fact, it's insulting. We got a super chat. I apologize, Jay Washington, that I cannot put it on the screen. I have not figured out what is the issue here with that, but I'm gonna read it out loud. It says from Jay Washington 90, all the men should have spoke up when Curtis said what he said. Nobody asked you. We still don't know what's in Canada and DR. Him and Jackie pillow talking. Um, you know, and what we also know is that we find out later on that Dr. Jackie has been texting Quad after it has been made after she's been made aware that Curtis went to church on him, okay, so to speak. In his mind, that's what he thought he did. And so she's now profusely apologizing. I would love to see them at the reunion discuss this because I think it definitely needs to be addressed, discussed, and all of that. So that to me was just so crazy. I just couldn't even be it. Mm. And the way that King handled it, the sad part about it is we see more of King than we do of Curtis. We do. We don't know where Curtis be. I mean, he got to travel and stuff like that. He playing golf here, there, and everywhere, and it, we see more of him than you. Back to what Cecil was saying, because I there's nothing more I can say. Somebody tells Cecil in the chat, drama sells. Cecil, unfortunately. So Cecil responds and says, well, I know I had drama. I went from Cecil gives great advice to Cecil is a bum and Simone should divorce him. Um, in the episode last night, Dr. Simone does acknowledge that she has verbally beat up on Curtis. But a lot of the women also also mentioned that at some point in time during the middle of the night while their husbands are sleeping, they sometimes want to punch them about the face. I know they were joking. but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Some things should not be said. And I understand that there is probably some level of frustration, but I'm gonna put it to you in a slightly different sense. And I want to ask you then if it has the same effect or a different effect. Okay? If the men were in conversation around the campfire talking about how in the middle of the night they sometimes wanted to pop their wife. I don't know. I don't believe we would be having a similar l- l- thought about it. And honestly, it didn't occur to me as I was watching the show. Something stuck out in my mind about that conversation, and I kind of chuckled about it as I was watching it, but it just occurred to me as I was having this conversation with you as we just got finished talking about the men and kind of what should not be said. On the flip side, I had to ask myself, if one of the men had said that, how would we be reacting in this moment? And I get that there is a certain amount of things that are typically sometimes accepted in our society based on, okay, it sounds funny coming from a woman, but it would not sound the same coming from a man. So I struggle sometimes with, I know that we want to see reality. And again, that is kitchen table talk. But the reality is, right, quintessential. If it would be complete outrage if the men said that and it wouldn't be acceptable. Robin Nelson says there will be an uproar on social media had the men said the same. Gwendolyn says people would be outraged. And uh, I I just I struggle. I struggle with that. I do. I struggle with the idea that, okay, yes, this is them having real talk as women. But I also get that if that same level of, I mean, I would not even want to hear any of the men say that. So it's just a weird, it's just one of those weird things that I can't quite figure out how it just, to me, it provides a level of discomfort and I just don't like it. And I just got to leave it there because I definitely wouldn't like it. I don't. When I think about some of the conversations that the men had on um uh Love and Marriage Huntsville, particularly with Martell saying that you need to go on out there and find yourself a little 20-year-old. And it's just like, to if I gotta be critical about, because I'm gonna be critical about that, then I feel like I gotta say the same in this conversation as well. Um, Jewel, thank you for the super chat. Says the husband's boyfriend and new male friend appear to have their own realities to expose. Yes, because Angel, and thank you for that super chat. Angel and her friend, I cannot remember that man's name, to be honest with you. He has come on the trip. To be honest with you, I'm not sure, her calling him just a friend, and then it seems to me like, unless I'm missing something, she seems to have this thought about going from being friend to getting a ring or talking about marriage. But I'm like, have y'all even set a foundation for what it looks like to date and to sort of say to to each other, we're together and that's how we're going to address each other as So it's like you're going from friend to marriage, but what is the in between? There has to be I I guess, new age relationships. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but there also has to be a stage of we're together, we're learning each other, we're only about each other, or unless we have mutually decide something else, then we are what we are an entity together. We are together. And it seems to me like she's trying to skip past all of the middle and get here. And again, I could have missed something. Or it could have just been my lack of interest. But if he's always just been a friend, why would you want a ring from him? Why would he give you a ring? He's never made it out of the friend category. Like, I'm just like, girl, like when I listen to her talk, I'm like, yeah, and she's like, yeah, he's just gonna probably have to be a friend. Well, girl, that's all he ever was. So, I mean, are you missing something here? Because I know I am. All right, let's move on. This is fun, Cecil. If you could tweet every episode like this, and maybe you have been, but I just haven't seen it. So shout out to no chaser underscore TV for highlighting these. All right. Someone else says to Cecil, it seems like Toya was trying too hard to create drama. And why was Dr. Heavenly a part of every episode when she was a friend of? They are trying to self produce drama instead of allowing it. Cecil says, when was there balance? What medicine are we talking about? The only difference is the last few seasons, everyone wasn't married, and that separates our show. Boyfriends and husbands will watch because men are on the show. All right, let's talk about Toya. The ladies also talk about fantasizing about other. Do they ever fantasize about other men other than their partners? As I think about this, the show Married to Medicine is generally about the women. So I would assume that the women in the group probably assume that the majority of the conversations are gonna be played for women. And in that, they probably feel a lot safer saying, "Yeah, I definitely, I fantasize about, other people." And that may be true, and that's what I have to respect about the show. Um, but you're right, Ashley. That's why when they were playing the superlatives games, that's why Toya was voted most likely to say the wrong name during intimate relations. I have to respect that, the fact that they're so open and honest in that regard. Because what would what would we be watching if they were not that open, right? And if they were not willing to make mistakes. I would find it interesting if we asked the men that same question while the cameras were on, because I think that if the men answered that question in the same way, then they would be ate up on social media. Okay? They would be eaten alive. And it's just about, can you imagine if Eugene said the same thing on camera? Okay? On camera. Do we think that Toya would be okay if he said that? Yeah, I sometimes fantasize that, my I was about other women, and again, a part of this is natural, for it's like it's human behavior, but it is the act of saying it on camera that changes things. But again, I can't. I gotta call it a thing. I gotta call it even, because at least she was honest. At least, at least. Now, the men being a part of the show, the episode actually picks up with the men having a disagreement from about what happened the night before during the walk. Like, Toya and Eugene, they Eugene needed a timeout, felt like Toya was under fire, and he's addressing it with Dr. Damon and the group. And Dr. Damon reveals in this episode that he don't push him because he's close to the edge. He's trying not to lose his head. And he's like, anybody can get it. And I was like, are you indirectly but directly warning Eugene about not testing him right now because you on the edge? That's what it felt like to me. It felt like Dr. Damon was saying, "Don't nobody press me because about nothing because I will snap, crackle, and pop on that anus, and I won't think twice about it." It seemed like like a little bit of a veiled threat, like "Don't come for me, bro. Don't start none, won't be none, because the moment you do, I'm gonna snap you in two. I got the rage inside of me because my son ain't talking to me." That is basically what I got from that conversation. And I was like, there were aspects of this episode that I really related to. And there's a part of me that understands a little bit about where he is. But I think it was mostly because, and I'm going to tell you why, it was mostly because that conversation was also in very close proximity in terms of the timing that they played it in the episode with Dr. Mimi's discussion about being a mom, you know, and having difficulties with her own child. Like that to me was emotional. I really resonated with that. There was something about those conversations in general that the emotion for me was very high, and I understood, not quite from the parental standpoint, but just from the perspective of somebody who has lost their parent. Like, I know what the last year has been like for me and how different I may have been perceived to certain people, what I felt like I needed in terms of support, I didn't ask anybody for anything. I didn't say anything. I just went through it. And I don't know if that was smart or not, but I could relate so much to some of their discussions because in relationships, whether it's friendships, marriage, anybody that you're in close proximity to, when something of that magnitude occurs in your life, you are never going to be the same. You're not going to be the same person that your friends knew, that your partner knew, that your spouse knew, that your employer knew, that your employees knew. You're just not going to be that same person. So I could understand some of those conversations in that moment. And I'm not going to be too critical of him because his conversation was kind of juxtaposed, not really juxtaposed, but in concert with all of those concerns that the group was expressing. And that's also what I felt like made this episode so good, is because people were saying things that they probably should not say. And yeah, I might judge them for some of the things that they say, but I'm doing so as a viewer. Who can judge, right? That's what we do. We watch these shows, we judge a little, we cackle, and we move on. But there are certain episodes that I feel like are unintentionally just that good. And I felt like this was one of those episodes. I really, really enjoyed the episode from top to bottom. And there wasn't a lot of those like crazy moments. I mean, there was the Curtis moment, obviously, but other moments that were just kind of like little that you had to pick up on, like little things, like Dr. Heavenly's switch from being like, yeah, my marriage is perfect, to yeah, at night, sometimes in the middle of the night, I want to pop him while he's sleeping. It was those types of things that I gotta respect that they say it because that's how they really felt. But when I dissect it, I'm like, ugh, maybe not. Maybe I don't want to know that. Maybe you shouldn't have said it. I don't know. So, so Cecil, back to your point, you will never be able to satisfy us all the time. All right. Um, Someone else said to Cecil, I miss the rawness. It's like everybody knows how to do reality TV now. Love watching the show, but I think more of the doctor's day to day so we get the medicine portion and just more into the. I'm guessing this comment was medicine. Um, Cecil says our family dinner wasn't raw. We are just recovering from that. I don't necessarily feel like this season has not been raw. But I will say that there are some times when we're watching certain shows where, because we understand the mechanics of reality TV, we understand when a person is being performative, you know? And so it's because we've been watching this genre for over a decade now, we can clearly see when someone is being extra for the sake of stirring up the juice and somebody is being real. Now, in terms of Cecil and Simone, I think that what we have seen from them has been the realness. I mean, she has definitely seemed very upset. What we've seen from them on social media after much of the mess on the show has seemed a lot like damage control more than anything else. And I just don't think that they need to do that. I just think that just live in whatever you were experiencing. You don't have to approve to anybody on social media that you guys are okay now. Let us see that next season on the show. That'll be, I mean, that's the best metric. But I think sometimes all of the much ado about the show after the show, y'all's lives and stuff like that, while they did provide great newsworthy type stuff, you know. But at the end of the day, I feel like y'all don't have to go above and beyond to tell people that y'all are rich. You got the finances in order. Let the people think what they're going to think because they're going to think that anyway. Someone else says when she has to carry the weight of three grown ASS men and one of them being the main one that should have her back. Yes, heck yes, let her live her best single life. This was somebody talking about Dr. Simone. And Cecil says, if you knew the real story, you would have a different opinion. But just for the record, I bought the South House. I bought the South House cash. If you're a watcher of the show, hmm. Oh, this is the type of thing that I don't even think he needs to do, you know? But again, I do like when people comment on the show. So I can't say that I'm too disappointed by it, but I'm just saying you don't need to. I don't think you need, I don't even think, listen, I don't think that there's anything wrong with people talking about how much money they make or how much, what they have done. I just don't think you have to do it as a result of someone saying something like that because that's somebody that you don't even really know that has no bearing on your household. And at the end of the day, it's like if the bills are paid in your house and you already know that, then you ain't got to explain it to nobody. Now, if you want to tell the people how you do that, then absolutely, I'm all ears for stuff like that. But I'm just not with it to prove like, yeah, I got it, I got it. I don't need all that. I personally don't. But that's just me. And again, we will never all be happy. Um, Cecil then says, just so y'all know, Simone ain't footing no bill for me. And I'm much older than the guys on the show, but I'm very confident about my net worth and financial independence. Google me. Okay. Okay. You know what? So apparently, according to the Google AI, Cecil Whitmore is known for his appearances on Bravo's Married to Medicine as the husband of Dr. Simone Whitmore. Has an estimated worth often associated with his wife's, which is reported to be around 3.5 million as of late 2025. Now, Cecil is a regular on Married to Medicine and has been featured on the show since his first season. He has worked in real estate, an announcing a career in Georgia real estate in 2019. He has also been described as having multiple jobs. He is married to Dr. Simone Whitmore. His net worth is largely combined with that of his wife, Dr. Simone, who is a successful physician. So this is one of those instances where I would say maybe the Googler, um, do you really want us to Google you? Because it says here that your net worth is largely combined with that of your wife's. Now, granted, 3.5 million, that's great money. That's some that's great assets, that's great worth, but uh, it really it really does not further it doesn't strengthen your argument here, which is why I say you don't need to do it, because it really makes it feel like, based on this googler, that it is because of Simone that your net worth is what it is. So I wouldn't even say that in the future, because you don't have to. Now, granted, these Googlers, they may not be correct. This could be absolutely wrong. How would the Google know how much they got in their bank account? Unless it's just taking aggregated data from known public databases for which you have assets that are out there, okay? But this does not take into account what you have in your bank account, what you have in your investments. So that's why I say Googler and Google Me, this is probably is not even the way to go. Why would you even tell anybody to do that? We don't need to Google you. That's why we watch the show. Then somebody says, "We need new characters. I'm so tired of seeing Toya and Heavenly bicker. Would love to see Mariah return." So he says Mariah's not new, duh. And if she came back, she would talk about how everybody turned their back on her. Cue Mariah in five, four, three, two, one. And I can't blame her at that point, because she has her own YouTube channel, and I'm sure she's gonna see this comment. And you know, I don't know their experience with Mariah, to be quite honest with you. Whatever they experienced with Mariah and whatever she experienced with them has left them all traumatized, unfortunately. And as much as I would also love Mariah to be back on the show, it just doesn't seem like it's going to ever happen. I have long since said that I feel like Mariah should definitely just come out with her own new reality TV show, but that's just for me. So then he goes on to say, when new people come on, no one wants to rock with them like Sweet Tea. That's also partially true, because you guys did not you guys made it difficult. Okay, you guys make it difficult sometimes for the new people to really thrive. You really do. You all vouched for, fought for, posted about Sweet Tea and Dr. G for a solid, no, I don't want to say a solid year, but like y'all planted the seeds. So because y'all made an effort to bring them in, y'all then made a super direct pivot into, in my opinion, ostracizing them. Okay? So it can't just be that when y'all say nobody wants to rock with them, you have to be speaking also about you, people in the group. Okay. Now, I'm not reading his tweets because I feel like all of them need some type of, um, snazzy response. I'm reading them because I think that they're interesting and I think that they speak interestingly about the show. And I like that he did it, regardless of whether or not I agree with his statements or not. I find them fascinating. Someone says we need more Dr. Heavenly. I feel like we didn't get enough of her. He says she was in every episode but the first one. Someone else said Simone and Jackie don't do lunch anymore. Jackie and Curtis don't even seem like they share a bed. Dr. Heavenly's toxicity used to be funny, but now it's draining. And this person said something more about Toya and Eugene. Um, I don't know. His response to that was Toya and Eugene question mark when I almost lost my family at a dinner. I'm not on X, so that's why I can't read on none of these the finished portions of these tweets. I would know. I don't even think I would ever go back to X at this point. So someone, the name of this person's Twitter is Giselle's Gout Legs. Why are y'all like that? Okay, so somebody said we don't want to see affairs or fights. We want to see new doctors. And then Cecil says, "Well, why is everyone so tough on the new people who join the show?" Again, that be y'all. Some of that be y'all. Some of that be y'all. Some of that is y'all. Someone else says, Quad's fertility journey has straight up been confusing. I don't think anyone can understand why she would be going this hard to have a baby with a man who's not even her fiance. And they go on to talk about the 5 trips to Ghana. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about, you know, I can understand if the criticism for Quad and King would have been maybe you guys have a stronger foundation first, but we were also working with, uh, I would assume, like they've talked about biology, timing, and wanting to really make this thing happen with King. So Cecil said, as you get older, women are choosing to have babies alone. Not sure why this is confusing. A new relationship is always exciting. They were ready to start a family. Damn a marriage. I think what's actually confusing in his statement is that women are choosing to have babies alone. That may be a fact, but Quad wasn't in this instance trying to have a baby alone. She was trying to do so with King. So I don't really understand his response to that. I can I can I can concede that this person could be confused if the argument is, well, she wants to have a baby alone, but she's also wanting to do it with King. I can understand that confusion if this person said that. Speaking of Quad and King, let's get to the final scene of the episode. So this was actually the perfect. Cecil, do it again. Cecil, do it again. No chasers. Shout out to y'all for posting these tweets because they definitely help contextualize this episode in a way that I did not even see when I first started talking about this episode. Quad and King. Let's talk about it. Oh, Ashley, I agree. Not everybody wants to get married, but I think that they were trying to have a baby as a couple. That's what I'm saying. But speaking of getting married, King don't even want to be married no more. So Quad told us earlier, he was like, "Well, let's just go down to the chapel and let's get married." She was like, "No, I need more structure. I need to be able to plan this thing out." After that happened, apparently things were never the same between them. So now in conversation, King has a completely different. He's singing a different tune. Like maybe we don't need to be married. Maybe we just need to be two companies that merge and we just benefit from each other. We just take each other's benefits, you know? We just do this, you know? We just do that, but we ain't no paperwork saying we together. Ain't no rock secured. We ain't got no paperwork on each other. We just we just together like this. We just together like this. That's all we are. Okay. Um Andrea, I agree. Cecil should recap every episode. He probably does, but I'm not on X, and I only know about this because No Chaser underscore TV posted it. So he, Twitter, Cecil, get off of X. Post your tweets on Instagram. Okay. I don't even know. Listen, whatever. I'm not on Twitter, so who cares? Who cares what I think? All right, so the merging of the companies. She's like, "No, watch yourself." And I'm like, was there a cut in there where she said something else? I believe that there was, personally. But they remember I told y'all I felt in the beginning of the season that I felt like the way he was talking to her was kind of snippety. You know what I'm saying? Didn't it feel like a little snippety do? And I know I sound crazy, but it was giving snippety doo. It was giving snippety doo da snippety a. My oh my, what an awful day. That's what it was giving. It was really giving. I don't really like you that much. That's what it gave. And it's unfortunate because, well, maybe not because they're not together anymore. So whatever the case is, he wants to feel more appreciated, and you know, she has to readily admit she not cooking for him all the time like she used to. She not steaming his clothes. She's not churning his butter no more. So now that she's not in the back churning butter like Handmaid's Tale, now that she ain't in the back churning that butter, making the meals from scratch, making bread from scratch. She not doing all that stuff no more. She ain't got time. And for him, he's like, I just want a little bit more appreciation. What I need from you is understanding. How can we communicate? They can't do that. Okay. They can't give each other no understanding because they cannot communicate with each other because they are both annoyed with each other. All right. This happens at the end of a lot of relationships. Two people, just I feel like her breathing annoys him at this point. Girl, you breathing wrong. I'm annoyed. And that's probably just the telltale sign that the relationship is over, it's through, it's done, it's finito, it's finished. And it's probably again for the best because, again, this kind of goes back to the discussion that maybe Curtis was trying to have, where it, no, let's not say Curtis because I don't think we need to say Curtis. Let's use Dr. Heavenly because Dr. Heavenly, I think, had a better stance on the Quad and King situation. I mean, probably mostly because she's Quad's friend, but also Dr. Simone, because Dr. Simone told him straight up when the men were going to, disperse for one of their sessions. She told King directly, maybe you need to learn how to be a little less chauvinistic. Okay. So I said, ooh, so these women have been seeing something with King and Quad for quite some time. Did y'all catch that when she said you need to learn how to be less chauvinistic? I said, "Ooh, this has been building." Dr. Heavenly's stance, it had been building, it had been building, it had been building, and everything that we have been seeing and saying in the chat. Maybe not. I mean, I don't know what everybody been saying, but I'm just saying some of the things that you and me have been seeing on the screen play out. Our senses were not wrong. Okay, our senses were not wrong. We were sensing what we were seeing it. We were sensing it. We've been saying it. Now they saying it. Okay, cool. So now it's playing out on the screen in real time. And this discussion right here, he's not feeling appreciated for, running up and through Ghana all of them times and whatnot, whoop de whoop, taking time away from his job, his daughter, and his other, whatever other responsibilities he's got going on. Listen, girl. You're running back and forth to Ghana 5 times. I don't listen. I'm gonna tell y'all like this. I love to travel. Y'all know that. I do. Um, and I definitely want y'all to travel with me. Okay. But I understand if you can't make every trip. All right. So saying all that to say, like going back and forth to Ghana like that, and I'm quite sure for God, they was not traveling in premium economy or the back of the plane. They was probably up in the business class. Now, let's calculate that. Zippity doo dah, zippity yay. Okay, so let's say $5,000 on the cheap end, 5 times per year. That's $25,000 you done spent in the flights right there. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. And that's like I said on low end for business class. For two people, for two people, that could be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. Okay. My God, today, if it was 10,000, that's $50,000 right there in flights alone. Now, again, I'm making an assumption about the way they travel because it just gives me that Quad likes to travel in a specific type of style. Somebody on the show made references to something about her paying for him. Was it Dr. Heavenly or did I imagine that? Maybe I was imagining it, and I'm not trying to take away from this man and what he got going on because I don't know what he makes or anything like that, and I'm not interested. And he didn't tell me to Google him, so I'm not. What I will say though is I thought I heard somebody say it on the show. I don't know. I don't know. And again, I'm sure this man make his own money. I just don't. I don't know what he do besides. I guess he got a luxury car business or something like that. All right. So the end of the story is they just don't seem like they're in a good place, and it's just given that it's given misery. It's given I don't want to be here. How did you get here? Mm-mm-mm. He's not supposed to be there. So, with that being said, I felt like this was a good episode, to be honest with y'all. We went through a lot. We went through a whole lot in this episode. We shook this thing down. We really did. We really did. We shook it down. We shook it down. I'm reading y'all comments right now. Oh my god, how do I get these comments on the screen? Do you have to get multiple shots every time you go to Africa? I it depends on where you're are you talking about the what she was doing? What she was doing, or are you talking about what as visitors to Africa we have to get? I'm not specifically sure what shots you have to get before you go to Ghana specifically. I know that if you're going to Cape Town, I didn't have to get no shots. When I went to Zanzibar, did I get any shots? I did not get any shots to go to Zanzibar. No, I don't know. Hmm. Y'all know, so I don't know. Sometimes a song will just hit you, and you just be like, you know what? That song fits this moment right now. It's on my mind, and then when it's in my mind and in my spirit, it just come out my mouth. Queen B More says not the fertility. I mean, I heard some places in Africa require like 4 shots. Um, Let me see. Let me Google that because I want to actually. I had my meeting with a travel medicine specialist before my trip to Vietnam. Uh, to get before going to Ghana from USA. All right, so the CDC and the WHO recommended vaccinations for hepatitis A, B, typhoid, malaria, and meningitis. And then it says your routine vaccinations, MMR, Tdap, and polio are up to date. Um, with malaria, you can get a pill for that. That's what I got before I went to Zanzibar. I got a pill for that. And I heard yellow fever is required. That's the one that's required for Ghana. The other ones are just recommended. Yeah. But from what I see here, yellow fever is the only one that's required. Why Cecil and X going in on the people? I don't know, Rachel. I just know that I welcome it. No, I mean, I like Cecil. I mean, for the most part, I think Cecil comes across very rational to me. He comes across very down to earth. I would say mostly humble until the Google Me comments. And not that people have to be humble because, listen, I feel like sometimes we as Black people and Black and brown people are taught to be humble so that people don't judge us or think that we think that we're better than them, and it's just a sociological thing. So I don't necessarily like to tell people to be humble as much as I like to tell people, or I think that people should be grateful for what they have, right? But I don't necessarily think that we as Black and brown people need to subscribe to this idea that we have to be humble, because a lot of times it means that we minimize our accomplishments, and other people don't have to do that, and nobody thinks twice about the fact that they're telling the world what they make, what they do, what they own, all that. So I'm not mad at him for, again, I just feel like he's doing it in defense of, and if you were just out there doing it, that would be one thing, you know? Yeah, I agree. Winter falls. Cecil seems cool. He had time that day. What's up, North Carolina in the building? Ocean says, yes, Cecil was one of my favorite Bravo husbands until that family did. Woo, he gonna let that family dinner down, baby. He's not gonna let that family dinner down. Get some help. Let me see what else y'all talking about. Queen Bmore says, I like Cecil. He has a good heart, I think. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. All right, y'all. So we've been on here for an hour. What are my thoughts on the new cast members? Oh, that was another thing. In this disagreement about that the men are having at the beginning about, really it's about the Met Gala. Um, Eugene is sticking up for his wife, but Dr. Mimi and her husband are not going to be participating in the gift giving because they were excluded from the planning of this. At this point, was that purposeful that Dr. Mimi was excluded? Probably. But the new people, they were probably very low expectations of participation because it was probably just for main cast members that they knew were going to be main cast members. So that could potentially explain it. But Dr. Mimi and her husband will not be giving money, but they will be going. And part of the reason why they're not going to be giving money like they gave last time is because they felt like they were being excluded purposefully. Were they being excluded purposely? Probably. Um, Probably. Yeah. I think that they probably were. And given that they gave such a significant amount last season, I definitely see. Here's the thing about fundraising and business. right? As a business owner, it would behoove you not to leave anybody out purposefully or not. Everybody on the cast who's participating gets an invitation to donate, whether I like you or not, because the mission is greater than my emotion. Okay. The mission always has to be greater than your emotion. So the moment that you start letting your emotion override your mission is the moment that you start losing out on things, people, opportunities, income, revenue, partnerships. All of that starts to go down the drain the moment that your emotions become much more important than your mission. And I would think that that's the lesson here that we can take from that situation with Dr. Mimi and her husband and the whole situation with Toya. Now, we don't know what the rationale, I don't know what the rationale was for Toya not having them participate or providing the invitation for them to participate. But that's what I take from it is that it could have been based on some level of dislike, distaste for, or a desire to make feel excluded because I just don't like you. But in that instance, what you do is you then cannot leverage the people who donated so much voluntarily last season, and you know that they got it. We know that they got it. They got it. So everybody that's on the show that got it, whether you got it or not, I'm not counting your pockets. I'm really not. I'm not counting your pockets. I'm counting the dollars that you donate. That's the bottom line right there. Okay. So you can be petty all you want, but being petty is not going to pay the bills. It's not. It's not. Period. Um, so that was my TED Talk, people. Okay. Hopefully you got something out of that. Hmm. um, right, Ashley, we need the coin. Right. Queen, the number of things you lose. Hmm. Wait, I just noticed your screen name. This ain't Phaedra. Okay, okay, okay. Queen B More, I love the camera. Richie, is it the camera on your laptop moving like that or a separate camera? It's a separate camera. I have a webcam of some sort. I can't see the name brand of it because it- I have so for those of you guys that don't know, I don't use traditional lighting. Like I don't have I mean I do. I have several studio lights, but I do not turn them on during the daytime because the way that my office is set up is that there's a window right here in front of me. And for whatever reason, this window brings in so much natural light that I don't need a light. But this camera, it moves on its own. And I've even turned off the auto zoom, but it still just does whatever it feels like doing. And to be honest with you, I just don't care no more. Like if the camera wants to zoom in on my face because I said something crazy, then I feel like that was the appropriate thing to do. It's kind of like having a cameraman that I'm not paying that does what he wants. Kind of like Norman, you know? It's like I have a Norman operating the camera, and I don't know what that person's gonna do. I don't know what they're thinking. All I know is I show up, I sit down, I'm ready to talk, and that thing zooms in and it zooms out, zooms in and it zooms out. At the nod of a head, the turn of my head, the sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. I don't know. All I know is that it's operating on its own. Okay? I wish I could do something about it. I've tried to stop it, y'all. I've really, really tried. You cannot imagine how annoying it is also too when I'm on like coaching Zooms or I'm on like a meeting or something like that, and the camera is just doing whatever it wants to do. And I'm just sitting here like, I promise you it's not me. I promise. It does what it wants. See? So anyway, that's it. I have a question for y'all. Like, I am thinking about either starting a private community or doing like a live masterclass for people who want to be paid to leave. Okay. Listen to it. Now listen to the idea. Okay. And y'all tell me in the chat because I want to know if this is something that y'all want. I do y'all like for those of you guys that know that I take people on like group trips, do you know why I do that? I want to make it clear. I don't just take people on trips so that they can just go on vacation. Because I mean, you could do that any kind of way. I really like to take people on trips because I want people to see more of the world, and I want to help people build a bridge between where they are now and where they could be. Okay, so when I tell you guys about group trips or whatever like that, I'm really telling you because I want you to go and experience something that could change your life. But I'm thinking about starting this community because there are a lot of people out there that I feel like don't have access to information that could help them change their life, right? I want to build a gateway or a bridge for global opportunities that are coming my way, and I want to teach people how to get access to those activities, whether it is like investing in property in Africa, or whether it is creating like your own faceless YouTube channel or Facebook channel page, and teaching you how to get revenue. But I need to know what you want to do, right? So that's why I was thinking about doing like a live session where I help introduce you to the opportunities that are for you specifically, right? So what is the path that you want to take individually? Um, that's what I want to do. So if you want to travel and get paid, or if you want to host your own group trips, or if you want to leverage YouTube or some other platform and you want to get paid, the whole goal is, let me tell you, I wrote it down and I was thinking about this and I really have been putting in a lot of thought about it. The goal for this is to help men and women who are done trading their best hours for someone else's vision and are ready to build a content powered life that pays you to exist, travel, and thrive. Okay. So if that is you, let me know in the chat if that is you. Because again, I want to do this, but I also don't want to waste my time. Um, yeah, I mean, I think over the past year and a half almost, I've done weekly Zooms for, for affiliate companies that I'm affiliated with, but I have not done one for myself and to help people personally because not everybody wants to do the same thing. And I need to get an idea of what you want to do because I know that I can help you get to that point. So I need to know what you're looking to do. If you could just write it in the chat. I know a lot of people want to start a faceless channel because I mean, it's easy. I started my first faceless channel back in 2020, I think. Um it because I know that I don't always want to be on camera, and you also just need to have different opportunities that are out there that are working for you so that when you want to go on vacation, you want to travel, or you have a parent or something like that that gets sick, then you can leverage that opportunity. So if you're looking for something like that specifically, just let me know in the chat. If you let me know in the chat, I'm going to come up with something that I think could work, and I want to do it live because I want to be able to answer questions. And I know this ain't for everybody, so feel free to hop off. But for those of you guys who are interested, um, well, Queen Be More, that's really what we want to help people do, right? I really want to help people set up systems so that you can leave if you need to. Period. That's what it is. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it at this point. Um, Queen Bee More says I'm this close to having everything set up to leave and start a company that will lend itself to multiple channels. That's really what I want to help people do. Period. All right. So if that is you, I'm going to put something in the chat. If that is you, let me ask y'all a question. Do y'all want to do something live or do y'all want to do it? Would you rather just have like a little mini video? Tell me what you want. Ashley says, me friend, but I'm kind of scared. Okay. Stand by, y'all. I'm gonna set you up with something. Anybody that wants to do something like that today, stand by. I had this ready because I really wasn't gonna say anything about it. But if this is you and you want to participate, hold on. I'm gonna send you this link. And I'm gonna do it today. I was gonna wait until I got back from Vietnam, but I just be feeling like honestly, I'm gonna follow my spirit. I'm gonna do it today at 5. That's it. Hold on. Let me make sure I got the link right. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm gonna change the time real quick. I'm gonna do it at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I'm gonna do it via Zoom. Okay, here you go. I basically just set up a Zoom real quick for those people who want to do it. And listen, here's the thing. I have been praying about this, and I was like, you know what? I want to be able to help people as much as I possibly can because I already know that God is taking me in a different direction as I move forward. I mean, I just know that, and I've known it for a while. And again, I feel like if I don't, I just need to do it because if I don't do it now, I'm gonna have to wait another 2.5 weeks, and I don't know where the world is gonna be at that point in time. But I do know that if I can help you get to where you want to be, I don't need that much time. All I need to do is spend time with at least 10 of y'all because I know 10 of y'all, I can tell y'all exactly what to do, where to go, how to do it, when to start. It's paid to leave. Yep. Why is it called paid to leave? Because I want you to be paid to take time off. Okay. I want you to be paid to take time off because you should not be working as hard as you're working. I want you to be able to have yourself open yourself up to travel opportunities. I can help you make your first. Well, I already know what I can do. Trust and believe. Come to the session. If you're serious about it, come to the session and I will definitely we'll work together and we'll figure it all out. I'll show you exactly what to do. I'll show you how to start your own faceless channel. I will help you if you have questions about, getting paid in the travel industry. There are multiple ways I can help you get that done. I can also help you if you're looking for other global opportunities. I can put you in the right spaces with the right people. I can show you how to set all of these things up easily and swiftly so that you can start doing what you need to do today. And I don't care. Listen, to be honest with you, whoever show up, show up. Okay. But I'm capping it. I might cap it at like, I might cap it at 10 so that I can really like work with people because I really just I want to be able to get into your business. Not your personal business, but I want to be able to get into your business, your idea, what you have in mind, and I want to be able to direct you on the right path. So if it is something that you want to do faceless, I'm going to show you exactly what to do. I'm going to give you the exact instructions. I'm going to show you, okay, how I have been able to do it, why I started doing it, and we'll get into that. If you want to get into the travel space, I'm going to show you how and why, the best ways for you. If you want to be like somebody who does what I do, I can show you that. um, I can show you multiple ways. I want you to be able to leverage your time and your talents in the best way possible. And I know that I can do that on a smaller group basis, period. You want to write your own books, but you want to make them profitable. I can help you do that. What is it that you want to do? You let us know. Because, I mean, we got to get to the next level. And if we don't get to the next level, I'm going to tell y'all like this, like, nobody is coming to save us. So we got to save ourselves, period. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. That's it. We're just going to leave it at that. So thank you guys for tuning in. For those of you guys that choose to hop on, I will see you guys at 6 p.m. tonight. And I want to cut this off probably around 4, or unless I get 10 people, then I'll just cut it off because again, I don't know if I want to like be overwhelmed with it'll be better if I can just help a smaller group of people, to be honest with you. So with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Love y'all.